Welcome to the MSBA training sessions. As part of the training sessions, let's start with SQL Server Analysis Services in this session. And for these sessions, I'm going to use SQL Server 2014 version. And before jumping into how to install and how to start designing and how to develop SSAS projects, let's have a brief discussion about what is MSBI and how the tool fits, why you need analysis services in particular. So let me take pen and let's say this is your application. I hope you guys know what is application. The application is the one which talks with the databases uh, and which takes the inputs from the users and which inserts or updates or deletes or just in short to say manipulates the data in the database. So now let's say this is your application which you designed for a particular business, and I'll call this as A, application A, and this guy has a database uh, which we call it as application database. So what this application will do is when the user make a purchase or when the user make a transaction, then the record will be either inserted or updated or deleted into the application database. So basically manipulates the data that is sitting um, in the application database. Now the problem here is when you continue, when the business is pretty big, you will get lots and lots of transaction data. So per day you'll be getting millions of records. So all the data will continue to pump into the database that is sitting under the application. So which is behind the application. So what will happen is the data will go and the database size will increase like anything. Let's say the database size is increased to 4 TB or 5 TB in very short period of time. The impact will be again on the application, right? So when the database is pretty huge and your application is accessing the database, then it will take a lot of time for inserting, deleting, and updating because of the huge data that is present in the application database. So what people normally will do is they'll take the help of an ETL tool. You can take any ETL tool. There is no restriction that you have to take the ETL tool only from Microsoft or only from Oracle, something like that. You can go with any ETL tool and they'll pump the data into a different database just to maintain the history. So let's say I have 10 months of data and my application or needs only last 2 months or 3 months of data to display to the users in case users requested to display the transactions made by a particular user or particular account. Then all the remaining data they'll push into the database to maintain all the history. In short, we also call it as archived data. So all the historical data will continue to pump into the database. So we call this guy as data warehouse, where we will maintain the historical data. Now, if you ask me the differences between what is the application differences between the application database and the data warehouse, it's pretty limited. Both are relational database. This is common point. RDBMS, RDB. So that is relational database. Both can be either SQL Server or Oracle, or this can be SQL Server or this can be Oracle, and this can be Teradata, and this can be Greenplum. So it purely depends on the requirements set by the users and the hardware configuration requested. So let's say here you are pumping the differences are this particular application database is used for data manipulation, like making the changes to the existing data and retrieving and displaying very little data like last 1 month transactions or 2 month transactions, because it won't maintain the history. All the historical data will be in the data warehouse. So this will have a subset of data, whereas this data warehouse will have all the history, and this is used for data manipulation by the application, like inserting, deleting, and modifying the data that is present in there. And this is used for querying, basically for executing select statements against this database, just to create dashboards or display the data, which will be used by the business or users for the analysis purpose. And basically this is small in size and this will be huge in size. The growth of this data warehouse will be very high, and here it will remain at a particular size because all the historical data will be moved to the data warehouse. And for this job we take the help of ETL tool, which mean the full form of ETL is extraction, transformation, and load. That means it extracts the data from the replication database and it transforms if required. If it doesn't require any transformation, then it will load as is to the data warehouse, and if any transformation required, it will transform. So transformation in the sense, like if there is a column which needs to be transformed, um, like country people will give like IND India or INDIA India, or USA. People give short forms like US. Some guys will refer it as USA, and some guys will give it as America. Some guys will give it as United States of America. So while moving the data from application database to data warehouse, sometimes you need to transform this kind of data to maintain uniqueness. Like if it is US or USA or United States of America or just America, um, update it as United States of America or one particular name to refer it uniquely or as a whole. Okay, so that is the job of ETL, the main purpose of ETL here. So once the load is completed to the data warehouse, then there are few other tools in the data warehousing. This is the ETL tool, and there is tool called analysis services tool, which will be used to design a cube database on top of the data warehouse. So if you feel the data warehouse is pretty huge, and querying the data warehouse is very risky job because it takes ages to get the information that you're interested in. Let's say you want to get the data like last 10 years information aggregated year-wise. What is the sales year-wise for last 10 years? It has to scan through all the records for the 10 years, which will be in billions, and then it has to calculate, it has to apply the aggregation like sum or average or count, whatever you have given in your query. So it takes ages to query the data warehouse because of the size of the data warehouse. Nowadays we have a lot of databases technologies like Greenplum, which are pretty good in performance, even if you query on data warehouse, but still the analysis services which will be built on top of your data warehouse will create the aggregations. You can create the aggregations on top of your data warehouse, and you can pre-calculate all these aggregations and you can store. If you define 10 different aggregations, and it will pre-process it, pre-calculate it, and store the aggregated data. And when you query the aggregated data, it will be pretty fast compared to querying the data warehouse directly. So the analysis services basically, you may get the question like this: what is the use of analysis services in the data warehousing tool? So it is mainly used for pre-aggregations, like it will aggregate the data and the performance will be pretty good if you query high-level data. What I mean to say is, if you have daily or every minute there is a record, transaction data, and high-level data in a sense, aggregated at year level. You have, let's say you have 100 billion records for 10 years of information, okay? And if you query sales for last 10 years, group by year, how many records you will get? 2001, and you'll get the sales 2002, because I'm aggregating at year level. Even though I have some billions of records here, the aggregated at year level will fetch me one record per year. And the aggregation of at quarter level will give me 4 records per year. So some hundreds of billions of records will be converted to 10 to 15 records based on the aggregation or the group by statement, the group by the aggregation level you apply. Okay. So here If I apply at the year level, I'll get only 10 to 15 records. If I apply at quarter level, 15, let's say I have 15 years of data, 15 into 4, 60 records max. So analysis services will store this information if you define the aggregation in a proper way. And when you query the data, it will get from these 15 records instead of querying from all the 100 billion records. So that is one of the major advantage of analysis services. It pre-calculate, pre-process all the aggregated data and store those aggregations in the analysis services. And when user queries a particular attribute like year or quarter or month to a particular measure like sales, internet sales or reseller sales, it will fetch the data from the aggregations and the performance will be pretty good. So that is one advantage. And people ask, what is the other advantages of analysis services apart from the aggregated data and the performance? So one more advantage that I have seen, my personal opinion, is like the designing of the calculations. If you use analysis services, you can design complex calculations. The same calculation in the sense like calculated column you write in the SQL statements, like adding two columns and bringing the third one, something like that, or calculating the percentage of sales, or calculating the profit, or calculating the loss. So all these kind of calculations and pretty complex calculations you can define very easily on analysis services. So let's say a calculation takes 10 lines of code in analysis services. To write the same calculation, it's nearly impossible in SQL Server. I don't say it's impossible, but it will take a lot of time and you have to take the help of stored procedures to and a lot of temporary tables to store the data. Why? Because the calculations you can define in analysis services on aggregated data. So that is the advantage of analysis services, and the calculations part, complex calculations part will be made easy. That's what I personally felt with analysis services. Now, apart from these two tools, there is one more tool which is part of our data warehousing package, that is reporting tool. So once you finish with your analysis services, you need to display the results. You need to display the data to the users. If there is no tool to display the data to the users, then all the work of moving the data from application data to the data warehouse and building a cube or analysis service project on top of the data warehouse to improve the performance of the querying is just waste if I can't present it to the end users, right? So end users are the ultimate consumers of the data that is present in the data warehouse, right? So we need some reporting tool, and this reporting tool will either query the data warehouse or analysis services database, and it will generate the dashboards, or it will generate the report and it will display to the users. So combine all these three, ETL part, reporting services part, and analysis service part, will form the data warehousing package. And from Microsoft, we have Microsoft BI. So MSBI, which stands for Microsoft Business Intelligence, and this is package of these three tools: one ETL tool, one reporting tool, and one analytics tool. So the ETL is very well known to you, that is SQL Server Integration Services, and analytics is a SQL Server Analysis Services, and reporting tool is SQL Server Reporting Services. And we will be concentrating on analysis services in this session. And one difference I would like to highlight here. So the application database and the data warehouse are nothing but relational databases. So both are the same. The only difference is this guy will have a very less data. This guy will have all the history. This guy will be querying will be very fast, but it will have less data. This querying will take a lot of time because it has historical data. And generally this is used for manipulation of data, whereas this is used for querying of the data. But if you see the difference between analysis services and these two databases is, this is OLAP database, whereas these two are OLTP databases. Okay, I'll give brief differences and description about OLAP-DB and OLAP databases in the next session. But for now, try to understand MSBI is a package of 3 different tools which are required for your data warehousing project. One is ETL, another one is analytics, and third one is reporting. Now let's say about the installation part, what we need to start with analysis services. That is very important to work with the analysis services, friend. So sorry, let me erase the drawings and let me take out the pen. Let me show you what are the things that you need for working or starting your BI projects, learning BI projects. So the first thing is you need to have SQL Server version and SQL Server with BI. This is the first thing you want. And if you're using latest versions like 2014, then you need to have, there will be nothing called bits shipped along with SQL Server. If you see the earlier versions like 2008 R to 2008 and 2005, when you install SQL Server, you will get bits along with that, which will be used for designing the projects. This is the framework which will be used to design analysis service project or reporting service project or integration service project. So this was part of SQL Server installation till 2008 R2 or I think 2012 last, I guess. But now with 2014, this is coming as a separate package. This is no more part of this SQL shipment. Okay, so I'm going with SQL Server 2014. So what I suggest is like if you go with the same, you need to install SSDT BI. So SQL Server Data Tools for BI, Business Intelligence -C. So to install this particular guy, you need to have Visual Studio. Visual Studio 2010 or 12. Okay, let's go with this. And to do some basic cube designing, and to do some ETL jobs and to design some SSRS reports, we need to have a sample database. So the sample database given by Microsoft is ADV Works, that is AdventureWorks Data Warehouse. So you need to have AdventureWorks Data Warehouse database too. So these are the prerequisites for our session. So let's see where you can get this, or where you can get each and every software and how to install. I'll walk you through the steps. First, let's see SQL Server BI. So I'll search with SQL Server 2014. Oops, it's pretty slow. Okay. Let the drawings be there. SQL Server 2014. And here it is. And if you go here, I'm looking for the 2014 version of SQL Server. Purchasing, no, SQL Server download. So if you go here, it is giving you 180 days of trial version, SQL Server 2014 Service Pack 1, and you need to sign in. Let me remove the drawings, erase the drawings so that it will be easy. And then unknown error. Let me go back and try to sign in again. Oops. Okay, it is showing some problem. So what I'll do here is When you click on this download, you have to sign into your Microsoft account. You can create one, and once you log in with your Microsoft account, it will give you three different files like Azure and ISO and CAP files. So download the ISO file, and once you download the ISO file, it will be something around 3 gigs. I think it will take a lot of time for downloading, so you just click the download, and you can leave the down. You can let it complete. So once you download, I already downloaded it and I have it in my documents. Let me show you how to install the stuff. I have it in my 2014 ISO file. This is the ISO file, and you can see the file size is pretty huge, like 3 gigs, close to 3 gigs. Now, to install from ISO file, you have an option called mount on Windows 8. I'm not sure about earlier versions. You can give it a try, or if you don't see this option, you can download some third-party tool which uh, can extract the files from ISO file, ISO extension file. So when you click on mount, it will open and it will show the contents of the file. And here you will have the setup, and this is for 64-bit. You need to double click on the setup. I already have an installation done on my server, on my system, so I already have a SQL Server integration and analysis services, reporting services, everything installed. But here I'm gonna show you how to do that. Just the steps. You just follow the same steps. But I'm not gonna install at the end. I'm gonna click on cancel at the end because I don't want two versions on my server. My hardware is not so good. So you need to click on installation and click on new standalone installation. Okay, oops, I already did something, so I have to restart my computer. This is hard time. So here I made installation and I made a couple of other uninstallations. So I need to restart my computer, and it's very painful to stop the video here and start it fresh. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the help of SQLSilent.com, this particular website where the person Anup has documented it in the best way possible. And let me go through each and every slide, each and every uh, uh, page of the wizard. So in the wizard, if you see, this is what you can see. This is here. I've selected installation path. Once you have selected, you have to select new SQL Server standalone and leave it as is. Leave it to free edition, and it will be free edition. Click on the free edition. Let it be as is. When this page is open, then the specify a free edition will be enabled and this product key will be disabled. Just leave it as is and go to the next step. When you click on next step, it will ask you to accept the license terms. You just accept it and click on next, and then it will do some set of file checks. Once it is completed, every step here is completed, click on next, and it will check some installation rules, and everything should be passed. This is where I'm stuck. If you see, my restart computer is failed. So at the global rules level, so it failed the restart computer, so I can't proceed further. That's why I'm taking the help of this. Now, next, go to the next step and go select SQL Server feature installation. And here, this is the very tricky part, feature selection. What you want to install. You can install only analysis service for now. Like in that case, you need to select only analysis services here and SQL Server here. Database engine services. These two are required, SQL Server and analysis services. But I suggest you to go ahead with complete selection, select all and click next. Even though you don't need it, but throughout our training, you may need the remaining tools too. Like you may need reporting services for SharePoint, you may need integration services, client connectivity tools, management tools. So I suggest you to go ahead if your system has good enough RAM, like 4 gigs of RAM or 2 gigs of RAM, and enough space on the C drive or the D drive where you are making the installation. Select all and click on go, click on next. This is the file folder where the files will be copied, the root directory. So all the files will be under C program files, Microsoft SQL Server. Under that, you'll have a different folders, one for integration services, one for SQL Server, one for analysis services, and one for reporting services. So click on next here, and the default instance, leave it as is. Your instance will be Microsoft SQL Server. That is, instance is nothing but the unique name for the installation. I told you I already have analysis services and SQL Server installed on my computer. I can have one more copy of analysis services. If I have two copies of analysis services on my computer, how can I uniquely call those guys? How can I uniquely identify those guys? It's with the instance name. So the first analysis services, if I give like this, the name will be Microsoft SQL Server. And if I make one more installation, then I'll give a unique instance ID or the named instance. Then okay, the ID, let's say it is XYZ. So the name of the second installation will become XYZ. So the instance ID is very, very important if you are planning to install multiple copies of same software, same tool like analysis services or SQL Server in this case. So leave it as is. If it is your first installation on your computer, click on next. Or if it is your second or third installation, give proper instance ID by which you want to refer the copy of the installation, analysis services installation. So this one you can leave it as is. Click on next. Everything, make sure the startup type is automatic. Like if it is set to automatic, then when you log into your system, everything will be started. And here you have to provide the authentication mode for your SQL Server. So I normally prefer to go with mixed mode, where you can log into your SQL Server either with Windows authentication or SQL Server authentication. If it is Windows, just only Windows, it will allow only Windows. So I prefer to go with mixed mode. In the mixed mode, you have to give the password, what password you have to give, and I hope you know the system administrator account, that is SA. When you try to connect to the SQL Server, when you provide SA as ID, you have to provide this password to connect to this, or else you can select Windows authentication mode where you don't need to pass ID and password to connect to the SQL Server. And to set some administrator, means like who is the king of the data, king of that particular server. You can add a current user, like yourself as the administrator, or if you want to give a particular username, you can click on add and search for that particular name if you are in a domain, and you can make him as an administrator. And click on next. And data files, you can leave it as is, where the data log, temp.db logs files will be there, or you can change it to D drive or E drive, whatever of your interest, where you want to store the data files, MDF and LDF files. And let it be as is. Click on next. Here the analysis services is not selected by this guy. If you see here, here he has not selected analysis services, so it is not asking for analysis services administrator, or else it will show a similar page where you need to select the analysis services administrator. So you can follow the same thing like add current user. If you do so, then you will be the administrator of the analysis services installation that you are making. And after that, click on next, and finally it will show you the page of installation. When you say this, just click on install, and it's gonna take some 40 minutes or 50 minutes, depends on your system hardware configuration. And once everything is succeeded, click on close. That means you have all the BI and SQL Server 2014 installed on your computer. So I really interested to show that, but unfortunately I made some uninstallations before starting the video, so I have to restart my computer in order to proceed further with this. My apologies for the same. Let me cancel it here. Okay, let me close this page. And how to confirm whether the software is installed properly or not, or what tools you have, like whether you have analysis service installed or not, or reporting services installed or not, or integration services installed or not, SQL Server installed or not. So for that, the easiest way is like go to services.msc, go to run, click on services.msc, and once you select this, it will open and show, it will display all the services that are running or that are available on this computer. And if you select and if you click on yes, it will show the services that start with this. And here you can see in the brackets, the MS SQL Server is the default instance name. So I made a default instance name in the first installation, and I have given the default instance name, so that's why it is showing as SQL Server. If I have one more copy of the same stuff, then it will be with the new instance name. Let's say SQL Server in brackets MSBA training, if it is my instance name. So if you want to have a multiple copy of the same tool, then you need to provide the proper instance name. Okay, and you can see I have a SQL Server, I have a SQL Server agent, analysis services, and I install reporting services, I install integration services, and I set everything to automatic. So when my system starts, everything automatically starts. You can see these four are the main tools of the BI, right? So these are supporting stuff like agent and all, browser and all. Now, this is how we can check whether you have analysis services installed or not in your computer, and I do have that. We are good to go. So once the installation with SQL Server is completed, the next thing is SQL Server Data Tools. So from 2012 version, you have to use SQL Server Data Tools, BI, Business Intelligence, to create or to design and develop your analysis services, integration services, and reporting services projects. So now let's see how to do that. So if you go to this site, MSDN, or if you simply go and search for SSDT, it will take you to the same page. Let me search for that. SSDT BI 2014, and the first one is like to download. If you click here, yeah, here you can download, or data tools for 2014 and Microsoft Server Data Tools. It will take you to the same page. And if you see here, you have a SQL Server Data Tools and SQL Server Data Tools Business Intelligence. Our interest is like business intelligence stuff. Let me go to the latest version, that is 2013 here, for SQL Server Data Tools for Visual Studio. And if you see the system requirements, you need to have either it supports 32-bit and 64-bit, and Windows 7, Service Pack 1, Windows 8, 8.1, 2008 R2, Windows Service Pack 1, and so on. And prerequisites, if you see here, you need to have 2012 Visual Studio 2012 or Visual Studio 2013 installed on this one. So what you can do here is you can go back, or you can install Visual Studio separately, or if you go to this SQL Server Data Tools 2012 and if you click on this and if you install this, if you see here, if you do not have Visual Studio Professional Edition or above, SSDT will install the Visual Studio integrated shell and install SSDT on top of it. So the SSDT is mainly used for the remaining projects, whereas SSDT BI is specific for business intelligence projects like analysis services and integration services. These two can coexist. So what I suggest you to do is first go ahead and install with SQL Server Data Tools 2012 here, and then come to SQL Server. I mean, if you can't find Visual Studio 2012, I mean to say, this is the easiest way, at least for me, because I search for Visual Studio and it took a lot of time for me. And then install SQL Server Data Tools BI for Visual Studio 2013. So if you install these two stuff, you can see something like this. In my search, data tools, once you see that SQL Server Data Tools for Visual Studio 2013, that means you have the framework ready to design and develop the BI projects. So it will be like this. When you click on File, New, and if you go on Project, I have only for business intelligence, and you can see the remaining projects are empty. It's only business intelligence projects. The second installation that I have done, like SQL Server Data Tools Business Intelligence, will bring this piece into my Visual Studio. And under business intelligence, I have different categories. One is for analysis service. I can use all these integration services and reporting services. Okay. Now, this is the second piece, and the third one is like AdventureWorks database. That is one more thing which is required for to start up with our analysis service projects. Let me search for AdventureWorks database. AdventureWorks 2014. And download AdventureWorks 2014 database here. And if you go here, you will find different options. This is the backup file, AdventureWorks 2014 full database backup file. So I already downloaded it. You can see AdventureWorks 2014 full database backup. Let me go to the folder. You have to download it. And let me go to the downloads and let me go and select 2014 AdventureWorks. So once you get this full backup, full database backup, what is that? Yeah, full database backup. You have to unzip it. Once you unzip, you will get this .back file. Okay, so this is your database backup file which you have to restore into your SQL Server. So to restore into the SQL Server, first what I need to do is I have to go to SQL Server Management Studio. Here it is. You can see SQL Server 2014 Management Studio. And once it opens, you need to connect to the SQL Server. Make sure the versions are same. My SQL Server is 2014 and the backup is 2014. If you have 2012 installed in your system, then search for 2012 backup and restore the same. Now you can see the database engine. What is the server name? This is my server name. And I think this is SQL Server. This is the instance. If it is default instance, I don't need to specify. If it is a separate named instance which you have given, then you have to specify the instance name here / and you have to provide the instance name. Now it is default instance, and I can go with the Windows or SQL Server. If it is SQL Server authentication, I have given password. I don't remember. Let me try that. I don't remember the password. Yeah, that's correct password. So once you enter the ID and password, or you can simply go with the Windows authentication if you selected mixed mode over there. And go to the databases. There are no databases now. Now let me create a new database. I'll name it as AdventureWorks CW. Okay, let me add this. This is an empty database. So once you have an empty database, you can restore by going to the task and restore and database. You can restore the database from the backup file that you have downloaded. Now here you have the source in the file. So select device, click on this. It will take some time. Okay, here this is a file or URL. I have it in file. Let me click on add, and this is the default backup folder for SQL Server. That means if you go to this path, all the backups will be stored here for SQL Server. And if you see, this is the root folder I've shown. Under Microsoft SQL Server, you have a SSAS, that is analysis services. This is for reporting services. This is for SQL Server, MS SQL. If you go here, if you go to this, you have different folders. One is for backups, one is for bin, one is for data. Here you have all the MDF and LDF files. And see, you can see the MDF and LDF created when I created the database just a couple of minutes back. And all the extra jobs, logs, and all the remaining stuff. So now I need to copy the backup file from there to here. Let me do that. This is the backup file. And I copy it to the backup folder. Once it is done, just refresh it. You can see the backup which you have copied. Click on OK and click on OK. Once you click on OK, it will show you the database backup which you are gonna restore. And if you click on files, it will display you what all the files you have, AdventureWorks 2014, blah, blah, blah. And under options, you just select the overwrite option and click on OK. And you can see the percentage of completed here. So it's 100% and the database AdventureWorks 2014 restored successfully. Now, once it is done, we're good to close this and it created with this name. Now, we don't need this anymore. Let me delete this guy. Okay. Now, if you see, there are a lot of tables that are part of the backup file which we got from Google by downloading it. So these are the tables which we're going to use for our analysis service part. So this is how you can install analysis services. I'm sorry. This is how you can restore AdventureWorks database, and this is how you can install SSDT SQL Server data tools for PI and SQL Server all tools, complete package. So we are all set to start with our first analysis service project. So before going to that, I would like to give a brief about what is OLTP and OLAP. And we can start all the stuff in the next session. So that's it for today's session. Have a great day, guys.